I thought my wife was protecting our son, until my hidden camera caught her whispering, "Once I have full custody, he's gone for good." She was secretly framing me as an abusive father so she could take our son and start a new life with her secret lover. I swear, I thought I was losing my damn mind. It started with little things. My wife telling me our 6-year-old son was acting out while I was at work. She'd say stuff like, "He threw his cereal at me this morning," or "He screamed and hit me when I told him to turn off the TV." That kind of thing. And at first, I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She's his mom. I've known her for almost 10 years. She's smart, calm, great with kids. I had zero reason to doubt her. But it just didn't line up with what I was seeing. Because every time I was home, our son was totally normal. Sweet, quiet, a little shy. The worst thing he'd do is whine when he didn't want to go to bed. That's not exactly troubled child behavior. But she kept insisting, almost obsessively, that he was getting worse. It got to the point where she started crying in the kitchen one night, saying she didn't feel safe around him anymore. I remember sitting there in total shock, trying to wrap my head around what she was telling me. "He's 6, I said. "Are you saying he's violent?" She just nodded, wouldn't even make eye contact. Said he'd snapped at her and pushed her earlier that day because she asked him to clean his room. I looked at her arm. No marks. I asked him about it gently. He looked confused and said, "No, Mommy told me not to touch her." That was it. Just that sentence. No emotion, no frustration, just blank. That's when I started getting this weird pit in my stomach. Like something wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Then she told me she didn't want to send him back to school. Said she wanted to try homeschooling him. She claimed the teachers were noticing the same behavior, but when I called the school to check in, they said he was fine. Friendly, quiet, focused. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept going over the timeline in my head. Something didn't add up. And then came the kicker. She told me she was thinking about taking him to a child psychiatrist to see if he had emotional disorders. Even threw in something about how maybe it runs in your family. Which, by the way, it absolutely doesn't. That was the moment the alarm bells really started screaming. Not just because she was lying, but because it felt like she was building a case. Like she was documenting things that never happened. Like she was trying to create a version of our son that didn't exist. And if that's true, why? Why would a mother do that? I didn't have answers, but I was done sitting around guessing. The next day, while she was out with her friend, I bought a tiny hidden camera off Amazon and had it shipped with one-day delivery. I installed it in the living room that weekend while she was grocery shopping. Put it behind a row of books on the shelf, angled just right to catch the entire living room, dining area, and part of the hallway. Perfect spot. She didn't notice a thing. And from that moment on, I became a ghost in my own house. I'd go to work like normal, talk to my wife like normal, play with my son, kiss her goodnight, pretend everything was okay, while watching the footage every night on my laptop like some true crime investigator. I didn't know what I was hoping to find. Honestly, I think I was still trying to prove to myself that maybe I was the crazy one. That maybe I'd watch the footage and see our son being rude, or throwing something, or talking back like she said. But what I saw changed everything. And it was only the beginning. I wasn't ready for what I saw on that footage. I thought maybe, I'd catch a few lies. Like her exaggerating, or maybe scolding him too hard. I didn't expect the show I was about to witness. The first full day I had the camera running was a Wednesday. I went to work like always, kissed them both goodbye in the morning, nothing felt weird. That night, after they went to bed, I grabbed my laptop, plugged in the memory card, and started watching. It was around 10:30 a.m. in the video when it started. My son was sitting quietly at the dining table, drawing with markers. You could see he was just focused, totally chill. Then my wife walks in, holding a broken plate in one hand. She looks at him and straight up says, "Did you break this?" "Huh, why would you do that?" He just looks up, confused. "No," he says. "I didn't." She walks over to the trash can and throws the plate in, muttering, "Unbelievable." Then walks back and says, "You're lying again. That's the 3rd time this week." He starts crying, just quiet tears, and says, "I didn't break it, Mommy." She snaps at him. "You always lie. I don't know what's wrong with you." I paused the video. I just sat there, staring at the screen. The plate was already broken when she walked in. There was no crash, no noise. She brought it in broken, like she staged it. I unpaused. A few hours later, she was in the living room with him, watching cartoons. He asked for a snack. and she told him no. He kept asking. Normal kid stuff, nothing bratty, just please, a couple times. Then she stood up, walked out of the room, came back a few seconds later with his favorite toy, a little robot dinosaur he sleeps with, and just smashed it on the floor. I jumped in my chair. My son looked horrified. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He just picked it up and asked, "Why did you do that?" She goes, "Because I told you to stop asking. You don't listen. You never listen. This is what happens." He sat down with it in his lap, silent, just hugging the broken thing. I don't even have words for what I felt watching that. This wasn't just lying. This was psychological warfare. And he was a kid. A little kid. The worst part? An hour later, I watched her take pictures of the broken toy with her phone, then send them to me. I checked my messages from that day, and sure enough, there it was. "Your son broke his robot because I wouldn't give him chips. He had a meltdown again. This is getting out of hand." She sent that with a crying emoji. I sat back from the screen, breathing like I'd just run a marathon. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was deliberate, methodical. She was setting him up to look like a monster. And she was using me as a witness, manipulating me through her fake evidence. And I still didn't know why. Later that day on the footage, she FaceTimed her friend and said, "He's falling for it. Soon he'll start thinking the kid's the problem. Just a few more weeks, and I'll have everything ready." That sentence was like a thunderclap in my head. Who was he? Me? What was everything? Ready for what? I didn't know yet. But I had to find out. So I let the camera keep rolling. And I didn't say a single word to her about it. At this point, I was barely sleeping. I'd go to work, come home, act normal, and then stay up half the night reviewing the footage. Every single day. And every night, it just got worse. This wasn't just some weird parenting approach. This wasn't stress or bad judgment. No, this was a performance. And I was the audience she didn't know was watching. Here's what I saw next. Day 4 with the camera running, I catch her on a long phone call. Not to a friend, not to family. She's pacing the living room whispering into her phone, and she says, clear as day, "I already told you." He's believing all of it. He thinks the kid's going through some kind of episode. Then she laughs. Actually laughs. Of course I'm recording everything. I have pictures, voice notes, texts. I'm laying the groundwork. Once I talk to the right people, I can make it look like he's unfit too. I froze. She wasn't talking about our son. She was talking about me. You know those movie scenes where you realize the whole plot is something completely different than what you thought? That was this moment. All the broken toys, all the lies, the "he hit me" stories. It wasn't just to make our son look unstable. It was to make it seem like I was raising him to be that way. Like I was failing him. So that when the time came, she could take him and vanish, and no one would believe me. She wasn't just trying to make the kid look bad. She was trying to make me look like an unfit father. And she was smart about it. She'd send me texts like, "He said he learned that from you. He only acts this way after you've had him. I'm honestly scared of what he'll be like in a few years." Now I realized, every one of those messages was a breadcrumb. A planted piece of evidence to build her narrative. The cherry on top? That same night, maybe an hour after that call, she gets another FaceTime. This time with her back to the camera, but I could hear his voice. A guy, younger sounding. And I swear, this one detail burned into my brain. He called our son the little obstacle. His exact words. "So once you've got the paperwork lined up, and he's out of the picture, you'll move here." And she goes, "That's the plan. No more drama. Just us. Just us." They were planning to run. She was going to take my kid, disappear, and make me look like the psycho who lost it when his family left. And I bet she'd already rehearsed the tears. The courtroom speech. The "he was always angry" routine. She was playing chess. And I didn't even know I was on the board. Over the next 2 days, I kept watching. She'd poke at our son for no reason. Say awful things under her breath when he did nothing wrong. Tell him not to tell daddy, or he'd get in more trouble. She even started saying stuff like, "When you live with mommy alone, everything will be better." Brainwashing, gaslighting, abuse. And the whole time, she kept texting me like she was the concerned, exhausted mom doing her best. I felt like I was watching someone wear a mask. Like I didn't even know who I'd married anymore. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because now I had a new plan. Let her think I'm still buying it. Let her keep talking, texting, building her fantasy story. And I'd build mine. The truth. Piece by piece. I started backing up all the footage. I saved screenshots, voice recordings, Every message she'd sent me, every fake incident. I even started keeping a journal with timestamps. Because when the time came, I wasn't just going to protect my son. I was going to make sure no one ever believed her lies again. From that point on, I knew I had to play dumb. Act like the tired, clueless husband. Keep smiling. Keep asking, "How was your day?" while secretly watching the way her eyes flickered every time she tried to sell me another lie. And man, she got bolder. It's like she was getting off on how easy it was. Like she couldn't wait to test how far she could push it. One night, I came home from work and she met me at the door, arms crossed, dead serious look on her face. Said our son had taken one of her perfume bottles and poured it all over the carpet. Claimed he was acting out again and probably trying to destroy her things. I walk in the house, and yeah, sure enough, the carpet reeks. But I already knew, because I watched her on the camera earlier that day, spraying half the damn bottle herself and then rubbing it in with a towel. She even staged it, muttering to herself, "This'll work." And then she told our son, "If Daddy asks, you did this, okay? He won't be mad if you just tell the truth." The kid didn't even argue. He just nodded like he was used to it. Like he'd learned that arguing didn't help. That broke something in me. Watching your own kid be trained to lie about things he didn't do, just to keep the peace with his mom? I wanted to scream. But instead, I looked her in the eye and said, "Yeah, that's not okay. I'll talk to him." She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, said, "You're such a good dad," then went upstairs like nothing happened. I stood there for a solid 10 minutes, just staring at the spot on the carpet. The smell of her lies still fresh in the air. And I knew I couldn't keep this quiet much longer. It was building up inside me like pressure in a pipe. I needed to act. I started talking to a lawyer in secret. Found a guy through a friend who specialized in family court and custody cases. Told him everything. Showed him some of the footage. He didn't say much, just looked at me and said, "Start preparing. This isn't just a divorce. This is a custody war." And he was right. I started quietly gathering everything I could, bank statements, messages, emails. I made copies of our home security camera footage too, just in case she caught on and tried to erase something. I backed everything up to a drive and then hit a second one at work. I was also watching her language change. She started saying things like, "I don't know if he's safe in this house anymore," or, "I think we need to start making a plan in case something happens." It was subtle, but I could see the foundation she was laying. She wanted people to believe she was the sane, careful, worried mother. She was crafting the persona of the victim. She didn't know she was being recorded doing the exact opposite. One night, she even said it to me directly, looked me in the eyes across the dinner table, and said, "If anything ever happened to me, I hope the courts would understand the danger." I laughed. Out loud. Couldn't help it. She blinked fast, caught off guard. "What?" she said. I just shook my head. "Nothing. That was just dramatic." She didn't like that. I could tell. That night, she kept glancing at me like she was trying to figure out if I knew something. I played it cool. Sat on the couch with her. Watched a movie. Rubbed her feet while she scrolled on her phone, texting God knows who. And in my head, I was already picking the day. I knew I needed someone official to see what was happening. Someone neutral. Someone she couldn't gaslight or charm. So I reached out to a friend of a friend, an old contact who used to work with Child Protective Services. She was semi-retired, but sharp as hell, and owed me a favor. I told her I needed someone who could come by the house under a casual pretense. Maybe pretend to be a consultant or therapist. Something to make my wife lower her guard. We set it up for a Wednesday. I told my wife someone from a child behavior agency was doing drop-ins in the neighborhood, and I figured it wouldn't hurt to get a second opinion. To my surprise, she agreed. Like she was confident she could spin the whole thing her way. She probably thought it was another chance to plant more lies in front of someone official. She had no idea the woman walking in already knew the truth. No idea I had hours of footage. No idea she was running out of time. And best of all, the camera was still rolling. The day the consultant came to our house, my wife dressed like she was heading to a job interview. Hair done, nice blouse. That soft-spoken voice she uses when she wants people to see her as this calm, educated, put-together mom who just wants the best for her child. I didn't say a word about the camera. Didn't even let it flicker in my eyes. She was still confident, smiling, pouring tea like she ran a parenting podcast. The woman I brought in, let's call her Marcy, walked in warm and casual, just like we planned. She played it so smoothly, complimenting the house, asking friendly questions. Nothing threatening. My wife fell right into it. Tell me a little about what you've been seeing lately, Marcy said, pen in hand, pretending to jot down thoughts on a notepad. And that's when it started. Oh, it's been a lot, my wife sighed, already slipping into victim mode. He's been struggling with aggression, lying, breaking things on purpose. I watched her from across the room while she talked. She looked so damn believable, even to me, and I knew she was lying. She was dropping keywords like she'd memorized them off some parenting forum. Oppositional behavior, emotional dysregulation, early signs of conduct disorder. She even threw in a subtle jab at me. His father tries, but sometimes I think he misses the signs. He doesn't want to believe something's wrong. I saw Marcy nod politely, not reacting much. Just listening. Any incidents you can recall specifically? Marcy asked, just gently. And I'll never forget this. My wife paused like she was thinking hard, then smiled and said, Actually, just this week he smashed a perfume bottle into the carpet and threw his toy at me. His favorite toy. Who does that? I looked down, pretending to be processing it. In reality, I was timing it. I knew exactly where that clip was on the memory card. Marcy turned to me and asked, And what's your experience been? Do you see the same behaviors? I looked my wife dead in the eye and said, No. Actually, I've never seen anything like that. Ever. Not once. There was a tiny flicker of panic behind her eyes. Barely there, but I caught it. Just a split-second flinch. And then she smiled and said, Well, maybe he just behaves better with you. Kids are like that sometimes. That was her angle. Her fallback. She thought she was still in control. Marcy finished the visit shortly after, thanked us both, and left with a smile and a handshake. My wife didn't say much that evening. She was quiet, thoughtful. I could tell something was nagging her, but she didn't know what. That's the beauty of doubt. You plant just enough, and people start crumbling under their own weight. The next day, I took the day off from work. Told her I was feeling sick. She left to run errands around noon. The second that door closed behind her, I got to work. I pulled the footage from the camera, specifically, the incident she'd just described to Marcy. The perfume bottle. The toy. Her slapping herself and blaming our son. Her whispering threats under her breath while telling him not to tell Daddy. Then I made 2 copies. One for my lawyer. One for the police. Yeah, I said police. Because at this point, it was more than manipulation. More than gaslighting. This was documented psychological abuse. Not just of me, but of a child. Our child. The fact that she'd weaponized him and had plans to take him away under false pretenses was beyond a domestic issue. I was done playing defense. I sent everything to my lawyer with a full write-up. Dates, times, notes. I told him to move forward with emergency custody proceedings and to let CPS know we had a potential parental abuse situation. He told me it would take a few days, but we had plenty to work with. The evidence was overwhelming. When she came home that evening, she acted normal. Kissed me hello. Asked what I wanted for dinner. She had no clue. She sat down on the couch next to me and started scrolling on her phone. Then she paused, turned to me, and said, You've been acting a little strange lately. I looked at her and smiled. Have I? Yeah, she said. Like you're waiting for something. I smiled a little wider. I guess we'll find out, huh? She stared at me for a second too long, then looked away. She knew. Something in her gut finally caught up. But it was too late. Because the next day, I wasn't at work. I was in court, filing for emergency sole custody. And she had no idea that everything, every lie, was about to explode in her face. The morning we went to court, she still didn't know. That's what kills me. She walked into that building wearing her nicest dress, holding her little binder full of incidents, smiling like she'd already won. I was waiting inside with my lawyer, cool as ice. No eye contact. No words. Just sat there as she looked around confused, probably wondering where the hell the CPS rep was, where her moment in the spotlight went. That's when they called us in. Emergency custody hearing. She thought she was the one making the report, but I filed first. The courtroom was quiet, just a judge, a clerk, both lawyers, and us. It felt smaller than I expected. Personal, like a family dispute. But the air was tense as hell. My heart was pounding, but my face stayed calm. I had to be. For my son. She went first. She told the judge our son had deep behavioral issues. Said he was violent, unstable, possibly dangerous to her and himself. She said I was in denial. that I had a history of ignoring serious problems, and that she feared for her safety if she didn't get sole custody. She really sold it. Tears and everything. My lawyer didn't even interrupt. Just nodded, let her go on. Because he knew what was coming. Then it was our turn. My lawyer started slow, calm, respectful. Told the judge we had a different view of the situation, and that we'd like to present some visual evidence. The judge agreed. I pulled out a USB, plugged it into the court monitor, and pressed play. First clip, her smashing the toy on the floor. The look on our son's face. Her blaming him afterward. She shifted in her seat. Second clip, her walking in with the broken plate and accusing him. Her staging the whole thing. Whispering that Daddy's going to think you're bad. I watched her breathing speed up, her hands clenching. Then we played the perfume one, the exact lie she told to Marcy. Same words, same timing. The footage showing it was 100% fake. That's when her lawyer leaned over and whispered something to her. She didn't move, but I wasn't done. Final clip? Her FaceTiming the guy, talking about how I was falling for it, how she had a plan, saying, once CPS steps in, I'll finally have peace. Silence. Actual silence in the courtroom. The judge leaned forward, staring at the screen like he couldn't believe it, then looked at her. She still didn't speak. He turned to my lawyer. Do you have more? We have over 30 hours, Your Honor. That's just a sample. The judge turned back to her and said the coldest thing I've ever heard. Ma'am, I suggest you stop talking. Permanently. For your own sake. And just like that, it was over. The court granted me immediate full custody of our son. Restraining order filed. She was ordered to leave the house the same day under supervision while I stayed with our boy. The judge also referred the case to CPS and a DA for review. Said what he saw might qualify as criminal child abuse and custodial interference. She tried to talk to me on the way out. Actually had the nerve to say, you blindsided me. I didn't even look at her. I just said, no, you did that to yourself. It's been a few months now. My son is doing way better. Sleeping through the night again. Smiling more. Laughing at cartoons like a kid his age should. We're in therapy together, just to rebuild the trust she cracked. But he's strong. Way stronger than I ever realized. She hasn't seen him since that day in court. I hear she tried reaching out to her new boyfriend. But he ghosted her once he realized the legal trouble she was in. Classic. Some nights I still go back and watch the footage, not out of spite, but to remind myself how close I came to losing my kid. How close she came to making me look like a monster. She built a lie so perfect, she almost pulled it off. But the truth? The truth caught her in 1080p.